Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the Polish Tier 9 Tech Tree Heavy Tank, the 50TP. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, I've got 3 replays in this tank which are leading up to and achieving the 3rd mark of excellence in this tank. The 50TP. It's a tank with a big gun. It's got a 130mm gun. I think it's got one of the highest alphas at tier 9 for a heavy tank with 560. It hits like a truck. Naturally, it doesn't have the best DPM in the universe. The aim time is not that great. The accuracy in general can be a bit derpy. Turret armor is nice. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle as well, which again is pretty good. The hull armor on it is okay. It's okay. You will, if you side scrape with it, you'll ricochet a good amount of shots if you do it right. If you are caught out in the open, obviously your lower plate will get butchered. But for the most part, if people have about lower than about 220 pen, they might actually struggle to get through the lower plate because it's really quite thick. But on the whole, yeah, you don't really want to get caught out too often in this tank. What you want to be doing is getting to positions like you're seeing right here in the 50TP, get hull down, and then just keep slapping the rounds down range. As you can see, though, it does take a bit of time to do it, because with the build that I have, we've got a 13.64 second reload for that 560 alpha, which means the reload on this tank is very, very slow. This is a tank that I used to absolutely detest before 6.0, because the reload was, well, 10% worse because we didn't have the rapid reload skill, so it was a bit slower. It was near 14 seconds. And because of the way the accuracy skills are these days, you know, being far more accurate than it used to be pre-6.0, the gun was just atrocious. It would just miss all of the shots you ever wanted to take. It was really frustrating. And then adding the fact that you had terrible DPM, and you weren't the fastest in the universe because you do have a 35km/h top speed, which again, I always say is about average for a heavy tank. And yeah, it just meant that this tank felt like a bit of pain. And even when I did hit the target, it still deviated too much and ended up meaning that I, you know, still missed the weak spot that I was aiming for anyway, which was pure pain, which is why I always dislike the 50TP. But in the advent of 6.0, the 50TP did end up feeling a lot nicer to play because the gun handling actually became somewhat feasible to use, right? It actually felt like it did its job. It hit. And then adding the fact that it just hits like a truck anyway, 560 alpha is a delightful amount of damage to do. I mean, you've already seen a 600 roll in this game. It does be able to do that, but you've still seen, even in this 6.0 world, that the gun can miss, because we had that full shot on the Waffle Panzer 4 and it missed as well. The gun is still derpy. Don't think this thing is going to hit every shot you ever want to take, because it won't. It will still derp a lot, but, you know, you can just have fun slapping out the rounds. You've just got to be slow, steady, and considered in this tank to make sure it's going to work. Because if you try and rush everything, it will miss, and then you'll have to sit there for the 13.64 seconds to get the reload in, which, again, is a bit of a pain for this vehicle. So, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the 50TP? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, and Rapid Aim. And in terms of the equipment, I run the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, and Optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself and get myself up to the 486 meters of view range I've got with this build. The Gun Stabilizer to make this gun as good as possible, because I can get it down to 0.85 accuracy during rotation and 1.76 accuracy during movement. And the Advanced Loader to make the terrible DPM on this vehicle somewhat okay-ish. And then the 3 gun perks in Steady Aim, Snapshot, and Run and Gun to, again, make the gun somewhat usable, because if you do not help the gun, it is awful. Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better, because with Rapid Aim we can get the turret traverse up to 24.33 degrees a second. I think if you don't run Rapid Aim, it's actually only like 20 degrees a second. So you get that extra 4 odd degrees a second with it, with having all this other stuff like Born Leader and that makes Rapid Aim even better, right? So, yeah, it's a lot more noticeable by running Rapid Aim on this vehicle that the turret traverse is a lot nicer. It's still not as fast as your tracks, because your tracks are 26 degrees a second, sorry. But it's still nicer to have and be able to get this gun, or should I say this turret, snapped onto target so you can get shooting. But yeah, that's why I run those perks, because like I say, you really just have to help this gun, because the main selling point of the 50TP is how hard it hits. And when it hits, it does hit like a truck. But it has to hit, which is the main problem with the 50TP, honestly, for me, is that sometimes it just decides, no, and even in this 3 mark run that I did for it, it was still like, no, you know what, I could hit these shells, or I could just hit the floor. And you're like, no, that's not what I wanted. Thanks, gun. I love you, RNG. It's so good. You know, and you sit there crying because I did get it to... Funny story, I got it to 94.99 and was like, one shot is all I needed. And then I proceeded to, though, get... Alright, it happened again. It has, as always happens. We got hit by an AVRE for 1400. He set me on fire, and I did one shot damage, and I dropped to 94%. And then, you know, that's the way it goes. That's life, I'm afraid. And, you know, then we had another bad game after that, and then thus we were back down to, like, I think we ended up dropping back to 93% at some point. And then it took another load of games to get back up to the point of being where we wanted 3 market, and yeah, well, we ended up back at 94.98, and you'll see the scenario we were in for the last game. But I digress. Yeah, this gun decides, nah, you know what, I'm just going to miss. And there are games where you just sit, you can see it, the frustration in the gun right there. Visible rage. Yeah, so... it just decides to miss, and there are some games that obviously go too quick for you in the 50 TP, and that can be pain, because you'll have those kinds of shots where you got mostly aimed in on a target that's giving you most of the tank, and it misses, and then you got to sit there for that 13-odd second reload, and in that time before you got the next reload in, they've either taken most of your hit points, because there's quite a few tanks that can do that, you know, you miss one shot and they will eviscerate your whole hit points. But yeah, you'll end up just bleeding everything, and then the game just goes to death for you, which is sad. So that can happen quite often in the 50 TP. It's something you've got to be very, very careful of. Is it a bad tank? No, not at all. It's not a bad tank at all. It's just that in certain situations, it can just go very badly, very, very quickly. And the way that the 50 TP is with the bad reload, the bad accuracy at times, and stuff like that, can lend itself more often than not to having those sorts of issues. So, we've had this first game. There are 3 tanks, we'll make that 2 tanks left. We're up to 4k damage with 2.2k assistance. We're just going to go try and get the kill on this 114 SP2. He takes a hit in the back, which puts him down to a 1-shot, and we finish off that Chinese tier 10 tank destroyer. The Grill 15 shuts down the T49, and we finish the game with a pretty decent total there for the tank, which was the victory. 3 kills, 4,082 damage, 2.6k assistance. The ace tankers, that's 6.5k combined. That's a good game for this tank, because to get... basically, what I always look at is where do I need to hold the mark when I'm 3 marking a tank? And that is, for this tank, it was 3.8k. If I hit around the 3.7 to 3.8 thousand damage mark, that meant that my mark wasn't really going to drop, or it might drop like 0.01, 0.02, you know. That's the sort of thing you get from just playing the tank. You realise how much saves it, how much drops it, how much it might go up, right? And it was about 3.7, 3.8. And to get any sort of fairly decent rise, and by that it's like, what, you know, 0.1, we're talking over 4k damage to get that rise. So 4 to 4.5k damage. So 6.5k damage was a very good rise for us on that one. And again, you're going to see that with the last replay with what happens with that. But yeah, this tank, like I said, with the gun handling feels wonky at times. And the other thing is, this is why I say you need to keep the aim circles bloom down as much as possible. That's by running the gun stabilizer and all of the gun perks that you can. And the reason you need to do that is because you have a 2.95 second aim time with this build, which is long. It's a long time to get this gun aimed in. So if you do not keep the aim circle down by making your accuracy during movement and accuracy during rotation better, it means that you're going to be sitting there waiting for it to aim for about 2 years, is what it feels like at times. So, yeah, you really want to help this gun out as much as possible. But we're on to the second replay anyway. And the second replay, we're on Arctic Region, and... not Arctic Region. We played Arctic Region in the last game. We're playing Cliff. There we go. Mate, maps. Mate, it is what it is. We're on Cliff, and we've taken 1,000 hit points of damage so far. That's because we took the position we wanted to take, and that is this middle position at E3. It is a vital location on this map to basically help you win the game in this, because you can go hull down on the little ridge at E3. You can cut off their attack into the middle like we have. You can help the hill out from where we were. You can go hull down and stay safe that way. You can also poke the ridge line, spot their base, and try and get some free damage at the guys camping in the base. And if you do spot the base as well, you might actually also get yourselves some free assistance from the people that camp along the 1-2 line. And if they do push aggressively around the cliff and around, you know, the lighthouse on the cliff, we can push this way and go shoot them and get rid of them as they try to push out from around the lighthouse. And again, we can stay safe ourselves. Naturally, they have safe ways of pushing it to defend, well, to attack our base and get themselves safe, but yeah, most of the time, taking that position at E3, F3 is a vital thing to do. So we get a shot there into the back of the Ragnarok, up to 2.1k damage, and I'm just being careful because I don't want to give myself away to the two guys on the right, but I also want to help the medium tank out if I can to try and get rid of the Raggy. I know there's some tanks at there, D5, so I wanted to try and spot them up, get rid of them. We've managed to get rid of the IS-3, and you can see every time I have to reload, I'm pulling back. I'm just watching the hill, because the Ragnarok could poke over and try and shoot us at any point. If that Ragnarok's firing standard, I'm fairly confident he's not guaranteed to pen us. He's firing APCR because that tracer was red, which means that he's still not really guaranteed to pen us at that sort of angle, shooting at our upper or lower plate, because like I said, the upper and lower plate on the 50 TP is pretty good against tanks that have around that 220 or lower mark, and obviously with the Ragnarok having about 205 penetration on its standard AP, and I think it's 240 odd on its premium. Yeah, 205 on its standard AP and 240 on its premium. At distance, because the penetration drop-off over distance for the Ragnarok is about it's 216, sorry, on its premium rounds. At the distance he's at, it's likelihood that he's probably not going to pen us that easily. So I was quite confident in just sitting there and going, go on, Raggy, try it, and he didn't do it. But we've come round to help our friends. We got rid of the heavy tank that was pressuring the medium tank here. We managed to get the slim shot in there to shut down the T55A, and now we're thinking about what we want to do. We want to try and get shots at the guys in the base because our TD is pushed quite aggressively into F1. But also, we can't really leave our guys in the base at J5, J4 alone because they're being pressured by the heavy tank and the medium tank on top. There's still the Raggy on top of the hill that we've got to be very, very careful. In fact, the Ragnarok's just been shut down by the T54, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. You can see me looking for it, and I'm like, hang on. Did the Ragnarok just die? I think the Ragnarok just died, right? So maybe we can start adding pressure somewhere else. So I've given up the position at EF4. The reason we've done that is because, well, our TD died, and a lot of their team are down at C1D1, and now we could be giving up that position to them, but at the same time, it's going to take them a bit of time to get up to us. So if we give up the middle position, we can go pressure this T54 and this IS Desmond 2-2, who's just been shut down by the T54, and we can then turn around and deal with the other threat. We get a shot into the T54 blind, but now we have a medium tank behind us, so we've got to turn to face that problem. It's an FV4202P. Yet again, he's firing standard, which isn't guaranteed to go through us frontally, because like I say, the armor on this tank is pretty decent. We get a shot RBRT'd into the side of the 4202P, and I thought, well, it's going to just go through, right? No, it didn't. And we ended up just tracking the 4202 without doing any damage. But we have the premium round loaded of this tank now because, well, that's all we have. Because that is one thing, if you have one of these prolonged games in the 50 TP, you will notice that you end up running out of rounds, which is why I run 13-13-4. But we've got 303 penetration on this premium APCR, which is going to be enough for everything that's going to be in this game. The 250 was enough for everything as well, to be fair. 250 pen isn't too bad on the standard round for this vehicle. But yeah, I'm kind of sad that we actually didn't pen that 4202P, but it is what it is. We managed to snap the shot in to shut down the Skoda T50, now hoping to climb on this little ridgeline and get a cheeky shot into the T54, who is, you know, if we roll well enough, we could finish this guy off. But we're in an awkward situation because it is 4v2. And so we want to get rid of this guy. We put him down to a one-shot for the T54. The Balsig's out in the open, and because I was loading a new round, I decided, you know, okay, I'm going to load HE for the Balsig. Didn't need it because he gets hit by the T54. He's now a one-shot guaranteed. We know there's a T95 and another TD knocking around somewhere, and I'm concerned that they might appear behind us. If they do, they're going to have a free shot at the T54, and my hit points might evaporate. So I'm just skirting. I'm skirting the edge and seeing where they could be. just making sure that they're not going to sneak up on us. We have 729 hit points. T95 comes after us. T95 is going to kill us with one shot, so we have to be very, very careful for that. And there's the other TD. It's a one-shot AT-15. The question is, where the hell is the T95? Because, oh, that's going to be a sticky situation if he catches us out. But we know where the Borsig is. We know where the AT-15 is. So we want to try and wipe these guys out. So we're going to go poke this ridge again, see if we can spot the Borsig. And there, we actually spot... Well, sorry, the Borsig gets into the cap. He never even got spotted crossing into our cap, which is testament to how good the camo is on a Borsig, right? But we get spotted, and that makes it awkward. Because I thought, oh no, he could get a shot into me. But thankfully, the T-54 ends up spotting the Borsig, and we finish it off. And I'm looking at the AT-15 now going, I could get a Mimi jump on this guy. But actually, it wouldn't be a good time if I did that, because we'd have probably lost. But we did end up helping spot the AT-15 for the T-54, who shuts him down. We get detected when we poke that little spot, and I thought, is that AT-15 still towards their one line, and he's just stayed there the entire time? I wonder. He's either over that dip there where I've just been looking, or he's still in their base. By the way, I got detected there. So we poke up, find the T-95, sorry, and it's like, oh boy, he's still full health as well. So we're looking for the shot into his cupola, hoping that he might fire, and there we go. He ends up firing. We go for the lower plate shot. Because we've got 303 penetration, we can go through the lower plate of the T-95. But this angle that I'm trying to take is awkward. So we're going to change up the angle again. If an angle is that sort of awkward and we're having to keep feeling like we're overexposing ourselves to the T-95, we may as well change it up. So I was hoping that he might fire, and in fact he did, but we managed to get the shot into the lower plate of the T-95 there. That looked a bit wonky as well, that was a bit weird. But we're up to that 7 kills to 6.6k damage. He takes it from the T-54, lower plate shot, aimed in. Good night, sweet prince, and we finished the game with a glorious game there for the 50 TP on Cliff with the victory. 8 kills, nearly 7,000 damage, 1,469 assistance. The Devastator, Radley Walters, Ace Tanker, Sniper, High Caliber, 2,264 base XP. It's always glorious to get a Radley Walters at tier 9 or 10 on stuff like that. Get 8 kills. Get 8 kills in general is always glorious, and 2.2k assistant, 2.2k base, sorry, is really, really quite nice. So we're on to the third and final replay of this video in the 50 TP, and we are on Mali. We're on Mali, it's a tier 10 game, and at this point we were at 94.98. So I know that I need about 4 to 4.5k damage. If I get about 4 to 4.5k damage, I'm going to seal the third mark, which will be nice. And like I say, because I had the frustration of hitting 94.99 and then getting done in by an AVRE and then just getting done in general, you know, for the next 2 games, which was my fault because I played like crap, and then ended up dropping like 2%, I ended up having to spend another 5 or 10 games where there were sort of mediocre games climbing very gently. And then I had that last game, or it was a game before that anyway, very similar to the last game, and we ended up going up to 94.98, and I was like, I'm in this position again where if I'd just had literally one more shot of damage, I'd have had the third mark. Goodness sake. But because it took all that extra time at this point, I was also very bored of playing the 50 TP, and I was just like, I just want it over. I just want it done. So we're on Mali at tier 10. And Mali isn't the best for a tank like this, especially our spawn. So we're going to go climb the hill, and the reason it's not the best for us is because, well, if we go to the hill and they don't really send anyone to the hill, it's a bit awkward to get the damage we're going to need. And also, if we were to go down to the J1, J2, it's a bit of an awkward fight sometimes, especially if they overmatch it with a ton of people. It's a bit too wonky in how people play it at times, and it can lead to feast or famine types of games. And also, the hill fight can be a bit awkward, because if they send a lot of people to the hill, and we do, that hill fight can go either way. And with how derpy this gun is, and having to hit true weak spots to be able to get the damage we'll need, and, you know, having to hit those weak spots is a pain with this vehicle at times, I wasn't very confident in this map or matchup for me. So we've loaded Premium because that's a mouse, and I'm thinking, oh mouse, hit point pinata, feed me, you know? And I want the damage. He's losing all of his hit points, though, which is sad. You've seen us hit one shot. We've got 527 damage, and in that time, now we're at 1,055, he's bled most of his hit points to the rest of our team. And with the 303 penetration, we can go through a mouse quite easily, really, to go through his lower plate at least. And his turret cheeks, if he points them towards us, can end up, you know, going through those as well. We got a sad bounce there on the mouse's lower plate that time, though, because it did angle up, and we were at distance, so the APCL pen drop off over distance, ended up doing us in. But we're actually spotting the Conqueror, so we got 104 assistance there on the Conqueror, just waiting, hopefully he'll drive out. He does, straight through the lower plate there. 1,618 damage, this is not enough. This is not enough. So I'm like, you know what, look, we've got all this team with me. I'm pushing to spot. Spot a heavy tank. Activate. Scout 50 TP. Let's go. I mean, I have people following me, which means that we end up splitting the spotting anyway. But if we end up spotting people, there's a likelihood that the people behind us will feed us some assistance. And that's what we want. If I can push directly down here towards this rock, then maybe I'll spot stuff down the 0 line, like the K91 that we just spotted here. And maybe we'll get some assistance and we'll be able to get safe behind the rock. That shot snapped into the K91 was beautiful, by the way. RNGesus said, yes, you can have that shot. Fantastic. 2,163 damage. We need another 2k. We just need another 2k. And again, I'm at the point where I'm just like, I just want it over. I just need 2k. I know there's going to be stuff sitting down here. If I spot it up, I'm going to get some assistance, and that would be great. We find an AVRE in the most awkward spot, and then we find an IS-7. We try and get a shot to the side of the IS-7, and we bounced. But we got 1,000 assistance, and we're the only one spotting the IS-7. Oh, baby. A bit more. There we go. We're up to 4.5k combined, and we're getting hit by something that's still camping in their base. Okay. Well, we've lost all of our hit points, but that's 4.6k combined. And at this point, I'm like, yes, I hope we've done it. Let's go. I can finish my pain. But I've also realised I'm dead. I was really hoping to be able to see the tank that was shooting me down here, which is why I've pushed into this dip and I'm pushing aggressively. The AVRE is now being dealt with by my team, but we're not seeing it. It's still looking at us. I'm like, what is it that's still in their base and looking at me? And sadly, it pens us with the premium round, and it was a 114 SP2. That's how good that thing's camo is, because he's in the bush right there. And that because he was firing through those 2 extra bushes that added to his concealment, and yeah, we didn't see him. I was just hoping to maybe spot him and get the assistance on it, but it is what it is. We ended up getting to 95.1, securing that 3rd mark. The 4.5k combined was all we needed to get that extra point. Well, we ended up going 0.12 in the end for 4.5k combined and 50 CP, which was nice. It secured the 3rd mark of excellence. We finished it off, and thank goodness for that, because I was really bored of playing it by the time I hit that point, because I was determined. I was just like, I just want to finish it, you know, and that's what it is. What it is. So yeah, that's the 3rd mark, that's the 50 TP. That's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.